is Rug Run, we'll say.
Sure.
And that's Stephen Magana versus John Kassari.
So we have on your right we have the Glissa deck, the traditional ramp deck, and on your left we have the Rug deck, which is 4 Huntmaster. So it's ramp deck, 4 Huntmaster of the Fells, 4 Primeval Titan, 4 Frost Titan, 2 Snapcaster Mages. Now, in this kind of deck, I actually sometimes found that the problem with Rug is that if you play, it can pull you in a lot of different directions at once. You get this great Frost Titan, almost certainly makes John a favorite here. In that, in Titan fights, Frost Titan
is the best Titan.
Frost Titan is the best Titan in a Titan war. Now,
one second. Turn 2, Stephen Magana, Rampant Growth. So anyway,
no, that's fine. So what we find is that he's also being pulled in the Snapcaster direction, and finding Snapcaster in these decks is actually a little difficult because these decks don't really... Mana Leak is not a great card in this. Maybe out of the board you can play it, but what oftentimes ends up happening is that Snapcaster Rampant Growth, and at that point you have to ask yourself why you're not playing more Solemn Simulacrum.
I thought that until I saw the guy that made Los Angeles happen because of Vapor Snag, where his basic opinion was this: what he would do is just stay alive much more easily because of Vapor Snag, and Snapcaster plus Vapor Snag was really powerful for him, and he also had Ponder. This deck does not have Ponder, though.
That's true. This deck doesn't have Ponder, so we'll see. It's only 2 Snapcaster Mage. I think I think in this matchup, what we will see is John will be attempting to make Frost Titans. If you just every time make a Frost Titan, keep making Frost Titans.
We got a turn 3 Solemn Simulacrum versus a turn 3 Sphere of the Sun.
So it's what our good old, what is it? In testing, we referred to this as giving them the old 2-4-6.
Right.
So they both have wound up with a 2. They both made a 4. And all.
Stephen Magana, though, missed his land drop,
which now Stephen can't pull off the 2-4-6, which can be everything that counts, especially if Kassari drops a Frost Titan, because then suddenly that's a land destruction spell. So Magana would love to have an Acidic Slime here. It would be a great play.
Yeah, one thing to note is that John Kassari not only has Frost Titans for the trump in the Titan fight, he's got 8 Titans, now, where Stephen Magana only has 6 Titans.
Now, I don't know if I like the Galvanic Blast there. At this point, giving John a card is almost like
a help.
It's a help, yeah. I understand that, like,
are we going to see the Acidic Slime?
I hope. Zenith, he's getting probably Huntmaster of the Thrun, or Huntmaster, probably. In this matchup, you'd probably get Huntmaster, especially if he knows that his opponent is not playing Inferno Titan, which his opponent isn't. Huntmaster is a pretty good card here. The problem is it's still not a Titan, and in this matchup, Huntmaster is not a very important card.
I cannot believe that the trample thing.
Yes, it has trample when it's flipped. I know.
Things you should know.
Things you should know. It comes up. It has trample. It's awesome. So, and Primeval Titan we're seeing now. His deck is also running the 4 Glimmer Post package, which I think is a little ambitious, but it seems to, I mean, as I say that, we look at his excellent mana base, so clearly he has 2 Kessig. He only has 2 Inkmoth in his deck. 2 Kessigs, 2 Inkmoth, 4 Glimmer Post. So he has 8 colorless sources in the deck. So only 17 colored sources. And he has, I think what is a little scary out of John's deck is that he has 4 islands, 1 mountain, and 8 colorless sources, which then leads to only 12 sources of green and only 8 sources of untapped green on turn 1. Which he doesn't have birds, so he suppose he doesn't need. But the mana... The thing about these decks is you still need to mulligan almost any hand that does not make green. So there's a little bit... There's a couple of directions in there.
The Primeval Titan seeks out a Kessig Wolfrun and an Inkmoth Nexus. On the other side of the table, we see our first Titan from Steven.
Which is the fiery kind.
Inferno. I'm glad to see that this guy's been getting some more respect lately.
Definitely. It's interesting. In old Valakut matchups, we used to talk about the first Titan wins the game. It was often to, like, if you want to simplify the matchup, you'd say first Titan wins. You know, I would get my Valakuts.
Oh my god, look what he's got in his hand.
And there he has
Frost
Titan.
the Snowman.
So the new ramp mirrors are different. That's not first Titan wins, it's typically most Titans wins. And in this sense, John, especially Frost Titan, getting to eat another Titan puts him as in a strong lead right now.
Yeah, Frost Titan in Titan fights counts like 2 Titans.
Almost, yes.
Not exactly, but close.
Yeah, it's very good. Provided that there's not enough... The danger is that if Steve plays another Titan, he can't actually attack with the Frost Titan, so then it stops being a 2-for-1, but it's still very close.
And another Kessig Wolf run, and another Inkmoth Nexus fetched by John Kassari.
Steven deciding to block probably will end up taking the damage here. There aren't really any profitable blocks he can make. He needs a 6th land before that sphere runs out. He needs to keep pace. He needs to go toe-to-toe, Titan for Titan, really. But the sheer mana advantage on John's side, or the threat advantage with all those Inkmoths, is going to be tough to deal with.
I mean, if Steven were to draw on this next turn and play a Primeval Titan, I don't think he's in a position to be in it even still. He's just so far behind.
Right, and another
Second
Inferno Titan. Double Inferno.
That's actually really interesting.
Is very good. Well, John will likely have to suicide his Frost Titan here. 2 Inferno Titans swinging can then take down a Titan, which is important, but it's possible that John can just push the poison advantage and not have to worry.
I mean, at this point, he's able to do activation, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He can go 7 poison.
He can run one
maybe
for 6.
8 if he 7, because it's plus 6. There's 8.
Yes, there's 8.
So right now, Steven Magana has 1 poison already.
No, it's just for 7. So no, sorry, plus 7. You're right. So it's for 8. Yes, I see.
Another Frosty.
Another Frost Titan.
And
this becomes...
no.
Okay, and just for the insult, we dropped the 3rd Frost Titan.
Oh, boy.
All right.
Okay. Wow. For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan. I'm joined here in the booth by Matthias Hunt, and we are here at the Star City Games Live Open Series in California, in Sacramento. You can send us messages on Twitter at SCG Live. The conversation is at the hashtag SCGCA.
Please meet over at the Shipping Dragon side events banner.
Going to the sideboard, what do you think is going to happen here? I think that we're going to see Blue Sun Zenith from John Kassari and Karn Liberated, but I'm not sure. Maybe even Blasphemous Act, but I'm not sure.
Karn is almost a certainty to play.
Karn will definitely be. It's over the top power.
He might actually side in his 2 extra Inkmoth Nexus. Whip Flare is a non-card here, so we'll see the 2 Karns. We'll see Whip Flares come out. Snapcaster is probably... Batterskull and Galvanic Blast and Snapcaster aren't really much of that strong here either. The matchup is really... Your deck needs to have 2 aims in the mirror. You need to make land drops, and you need to cast Primeval Titans, or any Titan, really. So both of the decks will try to streamline in how many Titans they can cast. So for John Kassari, what this means is that he'll likely side out some of the smaller things. He'll side out Whip Flare. He'll side out Galvanic Blast. Don't have targets. He'll side in Karn Liberated. Blue Sun Zenith is a fine card, but it's not a Titan, so it may or may not come in. Inkmoth's probably better because you just want to hit the land drops, and you want to be able to... Sometimes if the other person's first Titan is a green Titan, as we saw there, John, even if Steven had stabilized on Titans, he had this problem where John could poison him, and more Inkmoth Nexus, you can almost treat them as spells, and that might actually be something he would side in.
I guess the difference I feel like with the Blue Sun Zenith, in terms of why I like it, is that you have the Titan fight, you have the Karn over the top as a means to fight, but even having access to 1 Blue Sun Zenith can be if you've got nothing much going on, nothing exciting, going a Zenith for 3 or 4 in a long fight can be just insane.
You typically don't have time to Zenith for 4. I think the best play might be Zenithing for 2, using it as a really expensive divination. Once you hit 6 mana, you really want to be playing a Titan every turn.
And on the other side of the table, we're going to definitely see Devil's Play and Karn Liberated, or we should see them. I think we should also see Wormcoil Engine, and then Beast Within, perhaps?
We will almost certainly see Beast Within. Beast Within is great at killing a Titan, and it actually also sometimes is great at killing a land. The 3/3 is not a drawback in this matchup, so we'll almost positively see the Beast with two Beast Withins and the Karn Liberated are surefire things to see. Devil's Play probably, though killing a Titan with it's a little bit of an expensive proposition, especially when your opponent's main Titan is Frost Titan. So now you need 9 mana to kill it. That's not really, 9 mana to kill it and 11 on the flashback.
It's not that it's just their main Titan. They're still the Primeval Titan, and killing a Primeval Titan is still a good deal.
That's good. So anything that kills a Titan, like I said, most Titans wins. And so you want to be able to make them fast, and you want to be able to make lots of them. And you want to be able to kill your opponent's ones, though that's not as important as just continuing to make your own.
I mean, one thing we saw in the past, though, is we definitely saw Devil's Play as a card that was used to great effect in straight up Wolf Run versus Wolf Run.
Yes.
And so I would expect that if Steven's played this deck any length of time, he's probably going to use that.
Right.
And John Kassari, yeah, he is the same player that was playing this list at Los Angeles earlier this year when Patrick Sullivan and I were in the booth. He's the same guy, and he did get top 8.
He knows his way a little bit around these Wolf Run matchups, it would seem.
Now, what's interesting is that he did not have any red before at all, and that he's touched into the red now, so that he's a 3-color deck.
Yeah, he didn't have any red before.
It was blue-green.
Huntmaster of the Fells is a very strong card, and I think really Dark Ascension, the Pro Tour there, helps bring that out. That people really want to be playing that. It really shores up some of your matchups like Humans or Tempered Steel. Huntmaster of the Fells has taken a matchup that was a little more difficult now and put it strongly in the Wolf Run camp for a matchup you'd like to see when you're the Wolf Run player.
From the sideboard, if this is the same player, then I know he's got Blue Suns in, because he brought them in before in these matchups.
Okay. And I mean, that's fine. There's Galvanic Blast. There's plenty of candidates of things to cut. I think actually Vapor Snag is going to be very strong for him in this matchup. John is going to 6 cards right now. Possibly, like I said before, I'm wondering, we're not sure the kind of mulligan. He is a little light on green sources, so that can be a little bit of a source of problems. But once again, you're looking for a hand with lots of ramp spells in the beginning. You want lots of ramp spells and just ramp spells and Titans. Anything that's not a ramp spell or a Titan is not a card you really want to see in your opener right now. Yeah.
I mean, I think the cards he probably boarded out are 1 Battle Skull, 4 Galvanic Blast, 2 Whip Flare, probably for 2 Inky, 2 Karn, 2 Blasphemous Act, 1 Blue Sun Zenith, or perhaps a 2nd Blue Sun Zenith for some other card.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
The Karn is just one of the greatest cards in this kind of matchup, provided that you just don't roll the other person over with Titan into Titan.
Remember when we said that most Titans wins?
Yes.
Well, Karn is very good at eating 2 Titans.
Yes.
And if he does that, well, it's very hard for your opponent to get Titan advantage on you.
Yeah. Well, particularly like if you go first and you lay a Titan, and then they answer with a Titan, and then you go Karn, they might actually have another Titan back, but now they're just in such danger because your Titan can come on in without anything to be afraid of, and then their next Titan is still waiting to be eaten up.
Yeah.
We've got another mulligan from John Kassari, so he's going to the pile shuffle to try to find 5 cards that are a little bit better for him.
Right. And
a small little word from a bird on the internets. Apparently Evan Irwin is undefeated right now at the Grand Prix in Nashville. Go Evan Irwin. So that says to me that Evan's not out there listening right now, so we can go crazy.
You can say all sorts of things about him.
There we can see Evan Irwin on the left. Oh, he disappeared for a second. It's John Kassari, but for a second it was Evan Irwin. Can we have that happen again? That was magical. Oh, I guess not. And turn 2 from Stephen Magana, he has a Rampant Growth. Turn 2 from John Kassari in response, also Rampant Growth.
Both winding up till turn 4, trying to land a haymaker at the other guy.
I'm actually really excited about this 3-color Wolf Run list because, like, as a we'll say Rug Run, since it's become not Ugg Run like it used to be. Watching him play, the Blue Titans and the Vapor Snags were so impressive.
The Vapor Snag is especially impressive. When we were running Wolf Run Blue at the last Star City Open, what we had as an attempt, I think he's found a better card than what we'd come up with. What we'd come up with for the Titan Mirror was we were running Cackling Counterparts.
Nice.
To try to win who can make more Titans.
I remember that deck.
But I think Vapor Snag is probably just a better card. It's, I remember lamenting that Dismember only was -5 for Titan Mirror, but especially in this matchup, bouncing a Titan is almost the same as killing a Titan.
We see a 4th land from Stephen Magana, and then a Sphere of the Suns and another Rampant Growth, so he really has a lot of mana now. John Kassari, for his 4th turn, has a 4th mana as well, but he's got a furrowed brow. Is he going to say go?
Yeah, we should be, his brow's furrowed because we should all be expecting a Titan coming down from the right side of the board on this next turn.
I think he just said go.
Right, and I mean...
Oh, boy.
And it's not a Titan.
Is Stephen Magana just kind of slow rolling into the blue mana?
No, the fact that Stephen just cast a Huntmaster and not a Karn or a Titan is great news for John.
Oh yeah. Are we going to see 1 damage or
You're
1
gonna
poison?
See a poison. So John now has a chance. John has a window here. Granted, we don't know if he's going to make it to 6 mana.
There's a 5th mana. Oh, and an earthquake. We're in California. Watch out.
Now John in his hand. We don't see what he does have.
Vapor snags the Huntmaster to avoid the Huntmaster flipping.
Right. And then passes the turn. He can't afford to get his Inkmoth Galvanic blasted there.
I think I see a Frost Titan and a Primeval Titan in John Kassari's hand. I'm certain about the Frost Titan. I'm not sure about the Primeval. In with the Wolf from Star City Games.
The problem with Frost Titan is if you look at John's mana right now, John can't... And there comes the Titan from Steven. This will really put John on the back foot.
I actually think that Steven did not cast the Frost Titan because he saw the open blue mana, and I think he was thinking about Flash Freeze. I don't think that was a top deck Primeval.
Well, or maybe he did cast... No, he cast the... I think what he saw the Wolf, the Huntmaster being cast off 7 mana, means that Steven's probably trying to play around Mana Leak. And
okay, Mana Leak, that works too.
Because that's why he's casting a 4-drop on 7.
That's fair. But either way, I think Steven was playing around counter magic, which John does not have.
No, a ramp deck can't. The thing is that a Rogue ramp deck can't really afford very many counter spells. Almost all the other ramp cards tap out every turn. So
John says go with no 6 mana.
John says go, and that's
gonna be it.
That should be we should be going to a 3rd game fairly quickly here.
No, I totally agree with you on that. But talking with John in Los Angeles, one of the things that John said was that all day people played around counterspells he didn't have.
Right. Well, when you say why would you splash for blue in a ramp deck? Well, why do people play blue? It's for Mana Leak, right? But in a ramp deck, the real reason you play blue is for Frost Titan. So, but not everyone knows that, and I think you get a lot of people playing around cards that aren't necessarily there. To be fair, though, Flash Freeze would be a fine sideboard card. So
Flash Freeze is a great sideboard card.
Well, what I mean is that if you see a Wolf Run blue deck, you should not put them... They certainly would not be playing 4 Mana Leaks in the main.
I agree.
You may be able to say something like 2 Flash Freeze out of the board is a pretty fair proposition that they could have.
It's a very powerful card. It does stop a Titan.
In this matchup, it's Counterspell, which that card is very good. Clearly.
And I think we're going to see a scoop here from John.
It's a land with a Copperline Gorge.
It's a Gorge. Oh, yeah, it's a Gorge. I think what he's trying to do is run down Steven's clock. You're one of those players, eh, John?
Yeah, John is F6ing each turn, hoping just to get those extra 2 minutes off Steven's clock before they go to game 3.
A second here, a second there. If he has a Vapor Snag, he could hope that the Kessig Wolf Run is activated for him to do a fun bounce.
John at 6 needs an answer here. I think he just wants to see what his opponent does.
Well, he's also finding out more information. How many Wolf Runs are you running, perhaps? How many Inkmoth Nexuses?
The answer is 4 of each. Actually, Steven, playing a 62-card deck, is running 27 lands. Whereas John is 25 in a 60 card deck, so Steven's a little bit heavier on land. But John, I believe, would side an extra Inkmoth, so they're about the same.
And we see apparently a Huntmaster.
That
after the
Huntmaster
fact.
that was bounced. Right, so now John can't even really run out of Titan in the bluff. And there's the Vapor Snag.
Hey, Vapor Snag.
Far too late.
There we go.
All right, going to game 3.
The unhappy face of John Kassari. Stephen Magana on our right, taking game 2 to even this up 1-1. He's playing a much more traditional Wolf Run ramp deck. His, I'll call them tweaks. It appears is running 1 Glissa the Trader with 2 ways to get into play. 3 ways. 4 Sphere of the Suns, 1 Bird of Paradise, and the help from Green Sun Zenith. And his opponent, John Kassari, playing Rug Run. And this Rug Run deck, red, blue, green, using blue for Frost Titan primarily, but with support from Vapor Snag and a little bit of Snapcaster action. And then the green as you'd expect, and the red as you'd expect. Game 1, John Kassari basically just Frost Titan the heck out of Steven. And game 2, John Kassari mulls to 5, stumbles on mana, Steven drops a Primeval Titan, and it took a couple of turns, but John was still stuck on 5 mana by the time the Titan had actually, I believe, fetched mana 3 times.
Yeah.
And there's some laughing at the table here. I'm guessing that the judge cracked a joke, or people looked at Steven's shirt.
Being on the play is pretty important in this matchup, because if both decks do what they're supposed to do, the one on the play typically wins. Winding up for that. Like I said, it's not as bad as old Valakut matchups were. It's still most Titans, but hitting the first... If you're first to... What both players are hoping for here is to land the first Titan on turn 4 and have it be a green Titan.
I think that one of the things that we can look at, though, is that John Kassari is actually, just if we were to play out that scenario you're talking about, he would be able to break serve more often than Stephen Magana, because Frost Titan changes the math so much.
Right. What Steven has 2 Green Sun Zeniths, so he has more green Titans. But yeah, the advantage, I think, is still to Kassari. That said, either player can win the matchup, because still what both of them are doing is essentially the same thing. So, a good draw will beat a bad draw regardless of what's in either guy's deck.
Absolutely. Neither of these decks has such an archetype advantage that we have to say something like, it'll take a miracle. No, not at all.
It's probably it's probably around a 60-40 matchup for John,
which is better than 50-50.
Which is better than 50-50, and maybe you might even put him at 2-1 because he's on the play.
For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan. I'm joined here in the booth by Matthias Hunt. We are watching the final game of round 2, John Kassari with Rug Run versus Stephen Magana with Wolf Run.
I believe Kassari's mulliganing again.
I see a mulligan. He's got that look.
Yeah, that dispirited look of, I prepared for this matchup, but I just lost game 2 on a mull to 5. I'd really like to not mull to 5 again. That sure would be frustrating.
Now, a really, really interesting article earlier this week, Mike Flores interviewed John Finkel, and one of the things that John Finkel said that I thought this is very worth reading if you are a Star City Games Premium reader. One of the best things I've actually read this year when it comes to magic thinking. John Finkel basically says, hey, what's great about mulligans is that it makes you play in a variety of positions that are different than they would have been otherwise. It makes you play from positions where you are low on mana and your opponent is not, and having to figure out how to play in those games. And because of this variance actually influences things such that, in his opinion, mana makes Mana Screw and Flood makes better players win more often, which is a really radical notion to say that Mana Screw makes better players win more often.
I think anything that requires things that break the rhythm, things that are done differently, like which require players to adapt, reward players who are more adaptable. I think. And John is on 5 cards for the second time. Very frustrating situation for him, as still it's a matchup that I think he probably wanted to see.
Oh, that look. He's thinking about going to 4. And he does.
Well, it's going to be very hard for him then.
Okay, let's make in our head a dream 4. My dream 4 would be land, rampant growth, solemn simulacrum, and that's it.
He's on the play.
Yeah.
2 lands and rampant growth is, I think, clearly what you'd want. That's pretty close. Yeah, that's I think what he's looking for.
Land, rampant growth, and Frost Titan.
That's no, it's land, Huntmaster, rampant growth, Frost Titan.
Oh boy, Ancient Grudge. Is that an Ancient Grudge? Did I see
Magana?
that right?
From Magana or Kassari?
From Kassari.
No, Kassari's hand is Huntmaster, Frost Titan. Oh, maybe it is Ancient Grudge. I mean, there are Sphere of the Suns in Magana's deck. It's not the worst idea.
That's Ancient Grudge.
It is Ancient Grudge.
Rampant Growth for Magana gives him a 3-1 mana advantage. John Kassari just wants 1 land here. Says go. Stephen Magana lays a 4th land.
And if he's
Huntmaster, that's actually one of the best cards he could have laid from John's perspective.
I mean, it's all very relative, as John probably will not be able to stop it from.
There flipping. We go. Oh, Rampant Growth, and there's some words written on there. I don't know what it says, but something. Can't tell. Gets the red. He's got a Galvanic Blast in his hand, I believe.
I don't recall. No, I think he has 2 Huntmasters. Oh. He has 2 Huntmasters, a Grudge, and a Frost Titan. Or Huntmaster. That's too many cards.
There's the 5th mana from Stephen Magana, and it's going to get pumped with the Kessig Wolf Run to make it 6 damage.
Okay. And then
John
the
needs a
Huntmaster
land.
flips, shocks him. I mean, this line is this is good for John. I mean, relatively speaking, this is still very difficult for him. The Huntmaster and his wolf friend probably actually race the Titan that John would play. Even if Steven plays nothing else and just activates Wolf Run every turn, that's probably too fast for John.
A land would mean, even if we don't cast a spell,
I mean,
there's just nothing else. He's just going to pump for 2 and make it an 8, or cast maybe a Green Sun Zenith.
We're just hoping it's not going to be Acidic Slime. That sure would.
Oh!
And that was what he was keeping, I see. And Steven unloads a bunch of fire.
I mean,
and typically with Suddenly, when I said most Titans wins will clear. Steven winning without a Titan that game.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes triple Galvanic Blast does win. Sometimes. That's probably the first time most people have ever seen that versus.
Yeah.
Oh, kibbles. So Stephen Magana takes down John Kassari with Wolf Run Ramp versus the Rug Run list. For those of you who are just joining us, this is Star City Games Live, and it is brought to you by StarCityGames.com, the producer of the world's most advanced Magic the Gathering app, SCG Mobile. This is a free app, and you can start using SCG Games content from your iPhone instantly. And beyond the basic options, a simple in-app upgrade of $4.99 unlocks an ad-free experience and expanded functionality